My name is Jane Harf, and I'm here representing Ohio's Energy Future Tour. I want to welcome all of you who've come out this evening to hear our great panelists talk about the benefits of renewable energy and energy efficiency in this region. So much is happening in Northwest Ohio, and we are very pleased to have Toledo as the fourth stop on the Energy Future Tour. I hope you picked up an agenda and the little bio sheets for our speakers, as well as the interim report that we issued just last week based on the first 3 forums that we've held. Well, my job tonight is to introduce your moderator for this evening, and I have a feeling most of you probably already know him. He is an institution in the Toledo area, would you say? As Executive Director of Energy Programs at the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority, Kevin Moyer, we were very pleased that he agreed to moderate this forum and also to host it. The Port Authority and Better Buildings Northwest Ohio have been generous sponsors for this event, and we want to thank them for that. Kevin has done a number of really interesting, innovative programs through the Port Authority, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about those, so I won't take up that time. But I will say that before he came to the Port Authority, he was at the Dana Corporation for 25 years, and he has done a variety of really interesting things in both the finance area and translating that into energy and energy operations. So Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I hope by institution you didn't mean I was old. Well, Jane gave me a run of show, which means we're already about 8 minutes late, so we're going to get started here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out on a cool and little dreary Monday night, but I think you'll see we've got some great panels. We're going to talk about the business of clean energy and what that means from economic development and job creation and for the businesses that we have represented here tonight. We're also going to talk about energy from a sustainability standpoint and what that means as energy is a cornerstone of community sustainability. First off, I think we're going to kick off the show. Marcy Kaptur wanted to be here tonight, but she's got other government business that's very important tonight. We had Jane Rovallo here tonight, who I'd like to recognize. Jane is a member of Marcy's staff. And so before I introduce our first panel, I think we've got a video welcome from Marcy. So with that, we'll get started with that.
Thank you for including me in Ohio's Energy Future Tour. Here in Northwest Ohio, we are proud of our historic contributions to restoring America's energy independence and achieving clean energy development nationally and globally. As one example, First Solar, a leading photovoltaic manufacturer, traces its origins to research, engineering, and design work done by its founders in Northwest Ohio. The Andersons' pioneering efforts in ethanol production have allowed biofuels to enter our transportation fuel supply. Investing in energy innovation has contributed to the success of many companies like First Solar and Nextronics and Owens Corning. On-site energy generation, infrastructure investments, and weatherization improvements make buildings more efficient and energy independent. They lower costs and create opportunity for business growth and job creation. Efficient energy systems build a foundation for America's long-term global competitiveness. Energy jobs create a brighter future for America's workers and American manufacturing. Northern Ohio is at the hub of America's energy future. For example, Better Buildings of Northwest Ohio in an exemplary energy program under the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority. This initiative is a model for public-private partnerships in energy efficiency, renewable technologies, and financing support for energy upgrades. Last week, as we celebrated Earth Day, I joined environmental and community leaders at the Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge to inaugurate the first electric car station ever installed in America's national refuge system. The Ottawa Refuge is a tremendous coastal treasure and an active learning laboratory for visitors, but it is also proving to be an important leader for integrating alternative energy generation into existing infrastructure and economy. The Ottawa Refuge uses a combination of on-site energy sources, including an 81 kilowatt solar field and a geothermal system to reduce its energy costs by 60%. The new electric car charging station is exclusively solar powered, but is one of 400 across Ohio and 9,000 nationally. Its location is also strategically important. It is the only public charging station between Toledo and Lorain, Ohio on Lake Erie's coast. America's energy future depends on this kind of investment. As ranking member of the Energy and Water Committee in the Congress, I've had the chance to see innovative technologies and forward-thinking energy policies that are moving America to a new energy future. Despite some policy setbacks at the state level for Ohio's alternative energy portfolio, we are optimistic about our clean energy future. You can't stop progress. Our national security, resource stewardship, and simple American ingenuity continue to propel us forward to the clean energy future economy of tomorrow. Thank you for being part of this movement. I salute you and the more than 25,000 Ohioans who are employed in the growing advanced energy sector. Let's commit ourselves to America's energy independence and good stewardship as we build forward Ohio's new energy future.
Well, thank you very much, Marcy. You know, we couldn't have a better supporter locally regarding energy than Marcy. About 8 weeks ago, Marcy and I had the chance to meet with Secretary of Energy Moniz when he was in town, along with 60 other business and not-for-profit executives around the city. And Marcy put that together. So we're very thankful for Marcy's kind words and her dedication to this area. I'm going to invite the first panel up. I think you know who you are. And while they're coming up, I'm going to make a few remarks. It's not by accident that we decided to host this Energy Futures Forum in this facility, and let me tell you why that is significant. You may have noticed the Art Deco construction of the building. This building dates to 1955. This is a Port Authority building, and this building was the first project that we used in the city of Toledo for energy efficiency to sponsor the creation of an energy special improvement district. And this district and the financing that the Port Authority provides businesses and not-for-profits and local government with the capital to make energy efficiency and alternative energy investments and improvements. What you might also not know is that the energy district in the greater city of Toledo is one of the most active energy districts in the country in terms of number of completed projects and the amount of investment. We've done over 100 projects, and we have, and that's on $30 million worth of new projects. This building that you're in, we did an energy audit back in 2010 and 11. And in spring and summer of 2011, we petitioned the city of Toledo to form the energy district, with this building being the first project. About 4 weeks ago, we just reported data to the Department of Energy, and this facility has achieved a 20% overall reduction in its energy usage, which is phenomenal. And that's about 14% on the electricity side and somewhere between 30 to 50% on the gas side, depending on how cold it is outside. The Port Authority has in fact used this process on all of its buildings. The largest single energy reduction we've achieved is in the One Maritime building, which is our flagship project for the President's Better Building Challenge. And in that building, we've achieved a 43% electricity reduction. In total, the Port Authority had usage across these buildings, the Toledo Airport, 3 parking facilities of 9.5 megawatts a year, and we've taken our total demand electricity down to 6.8 megawatts, so almost a 30% reduction in electricity, and we're very proud of that. The Port Authority has also reviewed opportunities for alternative energy investment in its brownfield sites like Jeep Parkway, and at some point down the road, we're hoping that we'll have an announcement there. But tonight, we have two great panels, and I'd like to take a minute and introduce our first panel. On my right, to his left, we have Jay Troyer, CEO of Nextronics. And beside him, we have Dave Dennis, Director of Energy and Property Management for ProMedica. I worked at Dave for a lot of years at Dana Corporation. Dave, good to see you. Greg Steenrod, Vice President of Business Development at GEM Energy. GEM has been a very important partner of the Port Authority as we've deployed this program the last 5 years. And then we've got Anthony Smith, I'm trying to read this without my glasses, Energy Coordinator for Cooper Tire and Rubber from my hometown of Findlay, Ohio. I was recently down in Anthony's facility a few months ago to talk about a big project they've got down there and to do a tour of the facility. And then we've got Dan Litchfield, Senior Business Developer for Iberdrola Renewables. Dan, welcome. Glad you're here tonight. So you should know these are all very dedicated professionals, and we're going to give each of them 5 to 6 minutes to talk specifically about what they're doing in their respective businesses. And the focus of this panel, as you can see from the agenda, is the business of clean energy. And so we'll talk about the impact that clean energy can have on their businesses and possibly some notes about what that means for job creation. So I'm going to let Jay, I'll let you kick it off.
My company, Nextronics, is a small venture-backed company that makes really good solar inverters, really innovative technology right here in the Toledo area. I do want to, even though she's not here, thank the Congresswoman for mentioning us. I like being in the same sentence as First Solar. We employ a number of people directly, but what I think is really interesting is that we buy components from 13 other Ohio companies. And this is what I think of as really the strength, the core of the Ohio economy. Innovative companies, small companies, selling to one another and mutually reinforcing, not only providing good jobs, but also providing innovation, because when you're surrounded by other companies and you're working together, that really fosters the innovation. So I really think that's really representative of what builds the Ohio economy. Right now, Ohio is 20th in the nation in terms of cumulative installed solar. When I joined Nextronics a couple of years ago, Ohio was 16th. Last year, it was 21st. So it's been slipping a little bit, but basically you could say that it's just above the middle of the pack in terms of cumulative installed solar. On the other hand, and in contrast, Ohio is number 8 in the number of solar jobs. And that discrepancy is really entirely because Ohio is number 2 in terms of the number of solar manufacturers. Again, emphasizing what Ohio's economy is really all about. Now, ultimately, these statistics, I think, can only diverge so much. We're 8th in jobs, number 2 in the number of manufacturers, but 20th going to 21st in cumulative installed solar. My company is installed on 27% of all the solar that was installed in Ohio the last couple of years. We can't do that in California. In other places, when you're a small company and you're trying to grow, it's a lot easier to sell close to home. And you really need that business around you. So when I think of the impact that solar, and I know I'm talking a lot about solar, not all renewables, but that's what I know about. When you think about what's going to happen to Ohio over the coming years, I don't have any doubt whatsoever that there's going to be a lot of solar, a lot more solar in the state of Ohio, because with what's happening in terms of the economics of solar and in terms of people's drive to have more renewables and to protect the environment, I know there's going to be a lot more solar in the state of Ohio, whether that's 5 years or 20 years from now. And of course, that matters a lot to people who are building solar. What I don't know is whether Ohio is going to be a leader to the point where a lot of the manufacturing is going to be here, or whether Ohio is going to be a follower and things will get built somewhere else. And again, those statistics that I talked about earlier, that spread between number 2 in number of manufacturers and number 20th in terms of installed solar, I think that's ultimately unsustainable. And what the state really wants to do is to be fostering or really encouraging the growth of all renewables, solar in particular, not just because it believes in the environment, although that's an important reason, and not just because it wants to be number 1 in solar or higher than 20th, but because it wants to promote that whole manufacturing infrastructure and manufacturing economy that's made it what Ohio is.
Thank you, Jay. Jay's being a little bit modest on the Nextronic product, and I'm going to test my knowledge, but we actually helped Nextronics do one of their first large projects, a 1 megawatt project at the City of Toledo water plant, and we wanted to showcase Northwestern Ohio talent. So we had Nextronics, which is a startup company at the University of Toledo. They make a really slick inverter, which quite simply, their inverter, the advantage of others, it comes on sooner in the morning and stays on later. It has more redundant backup, and you increase the output of the solar field, right?
Kevin, if you get tired of the Port Authority, I think you got a job at Nextronics.
Thank you.
No, that's you hit it on the head.
And we also have First Solar panels on that field, and a racking manufacturer out in Napoleon, AP Products, and it was all designed and built locally and owned locally too. With that, Dave, I'm going to move on to you. Tell us about what's going on in the big corporate world of ProMedica.
Well, good evening, Kevin, and thank you very much. Energy efficiency and why it's important to the folks at ProMedica. The industry that we're in, the healthcare industry, happens to be very energy intensive. Just before I came here tonight, I checked to see what we were pulling off the grid, and our demand was about 14 meg. And there's really nothing happening right now. We peak out at about 22 meg in the summertime, and with that amount of electricity, we really need, in order to control healthcare costs, we need to be able to control our energy usage through efficiencies and through a number of other programs. Providing cost-effective health care is important in our organization. To do that, back in 2011, ProMedica set a goal of a 7% reduction in energy usage throughout the entire system. It's not a hard number to get to when I hear some of the other numbers the Art Museum and some other folks have attained here recently, but because of the intensity of our business and the new equipment that comes online, it's a little more difficult than it seems. While we in the back of the house on the energy management side do all the routine things with high-efficiency lighting systems, system-wide building controls, timing our elevators, shutting down elevators during not peak times so all 6 of them don't run and only 1 or 2 depending on your capacity. While we're going through all those things, the people at the front of the house, our doctors, which is our core business, they're out there buying new equipment that happens to be smaller in footprint but more energy intense. That energy intensity that they're buying, of course, gets you better diagnostic and procedural results when you come visit us. However, some of the times, actually most of the time, that comes with an energy penalty. As an example, recently we upgraded some mammography equipment throughout our system. The new equipment, although it has much more finer resolution because it's digital, utilizes about 15% more electricity than the device that they took out. Those are the things that we're constantly up against. How are we making inroads on one end while things are happening on the other end, which are basically fighting against us? A long time ago when Kevin and I used to work together, there was something that was said by our management team: what gets measured gets done. And we measure a lot of things at ProMedica, and one of the things that we measure is we measure all our utility bills, we measure our usage, we measure our payments, we measure every aspect that you can get on your utility bill: gas, electric, water, and all the other utilities that we consider out there. We utilize a number of both internal and external partners to help us manage our electricity. We have a bill paying service that monitors our 1,083 utility meters that we have in our system to make sure that our bills get paid on time. But while they're doing that, they also lift all the energy usage data off that so that we can use that to backload into Energy Star. We also use that information for analytical trending and for benchmarking purposes. We also have a local contractor, an energy contractor, guy sitting next to me right here, who helps us review all the data that we are accumulating through this service. After it's reviewed through the service, they audit the sites and they verify all the information, and then they measure us against ourselves using key performance indicators. ProMedica has identified 25 facilities within our organization, and those 25 considered facilities consume 91.7% of our energy. We probably have close to 300 facilities, so you can see how dense we are in those 25 facilities that we're measuring out there right now. We also have another consulting partner out there, in addition to the two that I previously mentioned, who provides strategic insight and relative market information, as well as coordinates our commodity purchases on the electric and the natural gas side for us. Integral to part of our energy management is our internal green team, which is a very enthusiastic group of volunteers within all the hospital settings that get together. And their most recent initiative that they kicked off last week during the Earth Day celebration was a campaign called Save the Light, which is basically trying to modify people's behaviors to turn off the light switches when they leave rooms. Since 2011, the goal that was set, 13 of our 16 medical office, professional office buildings have obtained that 7% reduction in electricity that we had, with 5 of those meeting Energy Star criteria. We still have a ways to go on a few of them. We have one hospital that's met that 7% reduction, and we'll even score better once we take care of a recently discovered harmonic disturbance that we have coming out of one of the transformers. We do have one Energy Star qualified hospital in our organization. We still have a ways to go. Question for all of you out there, and this is more rhetorical, when does it make sense to use more of a commodity to get a higher return on investment than it does to use less of the commodity? Well, the answer to that happens to be our case when we installed a combined heat and power unit at one of our hospitals. We actually purchased more natural gas, but that more natural gas that we purchased got us into a different rate classification from the supplier. When we did that, we used our combined heat and power pumps to generate heating power to take our peak load off and for our reheat units throughout the hospital. We ended up with some electricity as a bonus out of there, and we cut our energy use index by 18.2% at the same time, correlating to whatever the cost of the energy was at that particular moment. As we look to the future, we have our eye on lead on all our new building constructions that we have around town, and those of you who are keeping up with us in the media understand that we have a lot of them coming up right now. We want to utilize all the newest and the latest technology we can to get not only the lead points, but the lead points give us value on long-term operating and energy efficiency, particularly the monitoring of all our systems so that we can continuously commission our buildings whenever we need to. There were some changes that were recently announced at the end of last year. Senate Bill 310 had a big effect on us. That was basically the 2-year moratorium on the energy efficiencies that the state had mandated. Energy companies were given a reprieve on that. Our local supplier took their incentive program and basically turned it off on us. We've got several $100 million worth of projects in the pipeline right now, so we had a drastic effect on that. Although the mercantile program is still out there available from the PUCO to help us out on some of these incentives that are out there, the process is very cumbersome, and right off the bat we lose 25% of any incentive that was available. Fortunately, we're big enough in our profile that we have other energy suppliers in some of our other areas, and our other energy suppliers actually proactively encouraged us to do more energy efficiency programs by supplying us engineering talent into some of our other hospitals in the outlying areas, that'd be Fremont and Fostoria. As a final comment, as we look into energy efficiency, my contribution to you in providing an effective healthcare cost is to administer the supply side and demand side efficiencies within our system. We rely on our energy partners to help us set the direction and attain those goals. And we thank you for listening this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And, let me put that in context a little bit for you. This facility, we started, we were using about a 1,000,001 kilowatt hours a year of electricity in a fairly static environment demand-wise. We're basically in operation a little over one shift a day for 5 days a week. His facilities are in operation 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There's no holidays, no vacations. They're always open. And so a 7% drop may not sound like much compared to 20 or 30%, but it's off of an enormous load. In fact, I believe you're probably one of the top 5 energy users in Northwest Ohio. I'm pretty sure.
We are. Recently, we underwent the RFP process where we actually consolidated all our electricity load and then put it out for bid to various suppliers. We didn't change anything other than we just went to bid with one name instead of this doctor's office or this doctor's office or this particular hospital. And when we did, our energy suppliers suddenly realized that we were one of their top 10 largest customers, and we are now published in their annual report as one of their top largest customers. It's not that we're buying any more or any less electricity from them, it's just that now we have one name.
Yep. So that's very important. Small decreases off large loads, and as you can see, the complexity of their business, and we hear this too from things like universities where they've got an energy reduction program, but guess what? Their environment's also getting more energy intensive every day, all for the value add of better service, faster, cheaper, right?
More efficient.
More efficient, okay.
Cheapest quality.
With that, I'm going to go on to Greg Stingrod and let him have his 5 minutes.
Thanks, Kevin. And I really do want to commend Dave and the ProMedica team on what they've accomplished. And they truly, not only do they talk the talk, but they walk the walk. I've seen them personally make the investments into the energy efficiency and reap the rewards from that. And then take those investments, or the savings, I should say, and reinvest that into the community and into healthcare. So really a terrific story. So congratulations, Dave. Thanks. So who is Gem Energy? We're part of the Rudolph Libby Group. Our goal is really to help our customers reduce their cost of operations through energy service agreements, energy efficiency projects, and distributed generation systems, which include combined heat and power and solar arrays. Over the past 10 years, we've helped our customers save millions of dollars through energy efficiency projects. We've implemented about 8 megawatts of capstone combined heat and power, along with nearly 15 megawatts of solar. So why is renewable energy and energy efficiency important to our business? We believe, or our belief is that by helping our customers become more competitive and reducing their cost is just a service that we need to be in, especially as a construction and service organization. It's kind of interesting, last week I was watching CNBC and they had Morgan Stanley releasing an investment report recently on sustainability. And there's a lot of stats out there that are pretty amazing when it comes to energy, but this one I just remembered I thought I would share with you. Global demand for food, water, and energy is projected to increase 35, 40, and 50% respectively as soon as 2030. I think that's just amazing when you think about that. 2030 is not too far away. And even though these gentlemen were talking about how old they are earlier, this is coming up in my lifetime still. So, just a joke, guys. So I think that's pretty staggering, and it certainly shows that the investments need to be made in energy efficiency and the renewable energy business are here today. We feel like, why else are we in this business? So we feel like we're making a difference. We feel like we've made a difference at the Toledo Club, the National Guard, Toledo School for the Arts, with ProMedica, the Toledo Art Museum, with Paul Bernard and the incredible projects that he's done and he's going to share with you. The University of Toledo, Fifth Third Field, Huntington Center, Toledo Zoo, Owens Corning, I won't name them all, but many others throughout Michigan, Ohio, and New York. These companies and others are committed to reducing their operational cost and reducing their environmental impact. And they've made a difference, and we've been very happy to be a part of them making the difference. How has this reduced costs, created jobs? So, we reduce costs for our customers by providing guidance on energy conservation measures and operational cost reductions. So we design, we install, we maintain energy efficiency and distributed generation systems. But to do this, we needed to add the skill sets necessary to deliver those services to our customers. So we've aligned ourselves with a number of local universities that specialize in this skill set. And we've made the hires over the years, and the numbers inside of our organization, and being part of the Rudolph Libby Group, you can imagine we're a fairly large organization in the area, but between the people that are dedicated full-time associates in our energy division and the people throughout our companies that help us focus on energy consumption reduction and renewable energy strategies, we're somewhere in the range of 40 to 60 people that work on a daily basis into helping our customers reduce their energy. What benefits does this bring to the broader community? So, leaning back on the report from Morgan Stanley, another additional fact. So, by 2050, our population is likely to increase by 30%, or that's another 2 billion people by 2050. So, you can imagine what the effect is on the community and us helping reduce the energy demand, the great energy demand that there is, and there certainly is going to be in the future in the marketplace. What does that mean specifically for the community? Well, any way that we can help, the people in this room and the people in the energy business can help reduce that great demand, certainly is going to benefit the community in many ways, as you can only imagine. So how do we continue to grow technologies and encourage more investment in this business? Certainly one of our partners, Kevin Moyer, and the Better Buildings Northwest Ohio and the PACE financing program has been a delivery method for our customers to be able to invest in energy efficiency projects immediately, and in some cases where they might have had to wait for a capital cycle, or in other cases where they may not have been able to make the investments at all. So it's been a great avenue. We're really looking forward to working more with Kevin and this group on expanding that and making more investments. And additionally, working together on any way that we can help our customers be proactive from an energy efficiency, combined heat and power, and solar standpoint, and especially working closely with the utilities. Making sure that we're working on breaking down any barriers that are related to installing distributed generation systems, whether they have to do with interconnection agreements or demand charges or whatever the case may be. We're all in the same team. We should all be doing this together, and I think that's could be certainly one of the key ways to help us manage our future demand for energy. I think that's all I have, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg. Just to give you an idea kind of what's possible, I've got to commend Greg and his team for being, too many times financing's kind of like out here somewhere. And when you read the studies on why isn't there more energy efficiency implemented by businesses, and sometimes it's, there's not available capital. There's not available financing. Sometimes it's, we're not sure we believe the results. Well, Greg and his team have done a good job of working closely with us, and I think we've developed a true partnership and trust where he knows he can call me up if we need to be in a customer meeting with him, He'll bring us into that customer meeting. We bundle the whole proposal together. So the customer is not just getting construction numbers and estimates over here and financing over here. It's all integrated into one approach. And I think as you've listened to the different presentations so far tonight, you can see that if you make the investment, you'll get the results. I think if there's one thing that you have a takeaway here tonight, we haven't been in a building yet that had 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old systems that if they made that investment, and I forget about hospitals for a minute, just classic office building, classic school, you'll drive a 20 to 50% reduction in your electricity or energy use. It's very possible. With that, we're going to move into the industrial world with Anthony and hear what Cooper Tire's doing.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm from Cooper Tire in Findlay, Ohio. One of the interesting things, most people have heard of Cooper being from Northwest Ohio or heard being from Northwest Ohio, but what most people don't realize is our Cooper Tire plant in Findlay, where I'm based, is actually one of the last tire plants left in the state of Ohio. Titan Tire up in Bryan, Ohio makes the large earth mover tires. The only tire production left in Akron today is the NASCAR tires. So we are a 100-year-old company. We celebrated our 100th anniversary last year in Findlay. Our plant is currently about 80 years old, the plant we're in right now, with various additions through the years. But it's a big challenge for us because we're an old facility, we're a legacy facility, union facility. The equipment, the manpower, that leads to a really high cost structure. One of the tools in our toolbox for reducing our cost structure is energy efficiency. We have over 1,000 hourly employees and probably another 200 to 300 salary employees that work in the Findlay plant. So reducing our cost structure through energy efficiency, through Lean Six Sigma, those kinds of initiatives, helps us stay in Findlay and be a productive tax-producing member of the community. One of the issues being an industrial facility, like kind of here talking about hospitals and other things, is that we have payback thresholds that are sometimes shorter than what may be seen in other industries, or 2 to 3 years is typical for us. To go any longer than that, you really have to make a special case, which we're trying to do right now with looking at combined heat and power from a really high level at this point. But once you get behind the low-hanging fruit, what else is there? You start getting the longer payback type stuff. So where we really try to focus is on how can we make our processes more energy efficient. Thankfully, I think I'm just happy that we're still in AEP territory because we still have the energy efficiency programs in place this year and next year. One of the programs we really take advantage of is what they call the Continuous Energy Improvement Program. And what that does is that program actually will pay a rebate for projects that help us become more efficient. So if we're producing more tires with the same or less amount of energy, they'll actually pay a rebate based on that. So between some of the lighting projects that we've done, drives, and then the continuous improvement side itself, last year, in year one of the program, we saved over 3 million kilowatt hours, which is about 3% of our energy usage. This year, in year two of the program, just the energy improvement program, we've saved over 4%. So if you really add it all together to put in terms of, I don't know what a kilowatt hour is. I've never seen one. I see one on the bill. But basically what that means is between lighting and our continuous energy efforts, annual savings, it's about 1,000 houses that are off the grid, which coincidentally enough is the same number of employees that we have. So one of the things that we're proud of as a plant is that we basically offset the electric usage of all of our employees. One of the challenges that we have, but it's also an opportunity, is that because we're an old plant, we are looking at new equipment. We have invested in new equipment over the years. We haven't always made the right choice when it comes to buying the most efficient piece of equipment. Now, over the last 4 or 5 years that we've had an energy mindset, we've really tried to take a look at what's the long-term cost of ownership. when you look at it, it's kind of like an iceberg. You know, the purchase price of the equipment's that little spot you see on the top of the water, but everything hanging below it, your energy cost, your maintenance cost, is really about 80% of that total cost of ownership. So we're starting to get management to buy into that way of looking at projects, but still that 2 to 3 year payback threshold is still stuck in a lot of people's minds. So by buying, because of our cost structure, we're competing with plants around the world, China, a lot of plants overseas, and plants in the south that are brand new with all new equipment. As we transition to more automation, we have energy goals, but we're adding more energy because we're automating to reduce labor cost. So that's something that we continue to deal with. But through the energy improvement efforts, through the AP programs, we've at least offset most of our new equipment that we brought into the plant. So that's kind of our success story, and hopefully will continue in the future.
Thank you, Anthony. So I think what's key here with industrial facilities, and you heard a couple things. First of all, they have very stringent payback requirements. Most of their investment obviously goes into new production equipment. And those buildings are different than these buildings. You know, the energy's not coming so much from the lighting and the heating and cooling of the building. It's coming from the energy intensity of the processes in the building. And I can tell you that they use a lot of heat and a lot of juice to make tires. And again, Cooper Tire and Rubber is probably one of the most energy intensive businesses in Northwest Ohio, I'm sure. So with that, Dan, tell us what's going on at Iberdrola these days.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Litchfield, and I work for Iberdrola Renewables. We're the world's largest operator of renewable energy facilities. We've got about 14,000 megawatts of renewable generation globally, and closing in on 6,000 here in the United States. I'm here mainly to talk about our Blue Creek Wind Farm, which is in Van Wert and Paulding counties, probably an hour and a half or so from here. It's 152 wind turbines. It's been operating for almost 3 years now, and talking about the benefits of that, there's just so many different levels. Maybe first and foremost, what you think of is clean energy. We generate electricity without any air emissions or without any water use. I just looking at the numbers last week around Earth Day, and our wind farm generates about 800 million kilowatt hours per year, which is enough to offset the carbon dioxide emissions equivalent to 1.6 billion pounds a year. It's a huge number. But it's not just about the clean energy, it's also tremendous local economic development. I don't want to steal any thunder from Pete, who will talk later, but I will mention we're the largest single taxpayer in Van Wert County now, and second largest taxpayer in Paulding County behind another wind farm. So tremendous sources of local revenue for townships, county, and particularly schools. My favorite visual from this earlier this year, we presented our annual payment to Lincoln View Local Schools. 915 students, K through 12, rural school district. Now every single kid in the district has a computer device, whether it's a tablet or a Chromebook or a laptop. And at least half of those were made possible because of our payment. So where the rubber meets the road, the kids have seen a lot of benefits. It's also a great fit with agriculture. That's the primary use of the land in our project area, primary industry, farming. And we're farming the wind. Whether there's wind turbines or not, the wind is howling over these fields, and our turbines allow the farmers to harvest a new crop. They only take up about 3/4 of an acre per turbine. We compensate them for drainage tile issues and crop damage during construction. Most of those issues are cleared up now 3 years in. And it's about $2 million a year in new landowner royalties. So a lot of local benefits. And of course, I think there's a real benefit to our customers. One example, and I spoke at the Ohio Energy Future Tour in Columbus, I think in February, on behalf of our customer, Ohio State University. It's a great story because they want to have clean energy that supplies their campus. But the benefits they're seeing are beyond just the feel-good lack of pollution, but they're saving money. They've announced they've saved $4 million by buying wind energy so far. It's tremendous. And they have a long-term view. One thing to get your heads around about renewable energy is the business model is very different than traditional forms of generation. We don't pay for fuel. So we pay to build our wind turbines, or you pay to put up solar panels, and they just run for the life of the project. Wind turbines obviously have some maintenance. We pay taxes. We pay landowners. These are all more or less fixed. So we sell our power on long-term fixed price contracts, and that really adds a huge degree of stability to the overall energy costs for the university and our other customers. Finally, I just want to touch on why we're here in Ohio. We came to Ohio because of policies. Senate Bill 221 created the Advanced Energy Portfolio Standard. Our company saw that as a signal that there's going to be a market we can compete into. We shifted our efforts on developing this project from Indiana to Ohio. We're 6 miles inside the state line. We built the project because of that. Obviously, that law is frozen now. We'd love to see that return. We have other projects planned because of that law that are now uncertain. But what was really bad was the new rules for wind turbine siting setbacks. You may have heard of them. But they basically, the state of Ohio, in the budget bill, almost tripled the setback requirements for wind turbines from property lines. And it's impossible to build a wind farm in Ohio that complies with these. So the 152 wind turbines we built at Blue Creek, 12 are compliant with this law. And we'd really like to see that changed. We think our track record now, 3 years in, shows that it's a good fit. It's not a safety threat to the community, and it really is a benefit. So look forward to your questions, and thanks for coming.
I was lucky enough to attend a wind turbine meeting in Ragged Township up here in Michigan not long ago. I think it was actually last year. And I bumped into an awful lot of NIMBYs up there. And did you realize that wind turbine power, the flashing as the turbine turns in the wind will give you epileptic seizures? Also that wind turbines will also kill eagles. It just specifies those wind turbines go around and go directly after eagles. How the hell did you get enough people that were in favor of it with the idiots that are up there, and you got people that many to actually sign off on it?
Yeah, you hear some interesting things. We haven't experienced either of those, fortunately. But we have a lot of people who approached it with an open mind. We actually have 250 different landowners that are part of our project, 110 wind energy lease agreements, which represents about 30,000 acres, and 146 neighbor agreements. So that helped too. We offered neighbor agreements to people who live around the wind farm. But it was a long period of education. Ohio has an extremely rigorous permitting process, 9-month review by the state. We made it through a 5,000-page application, and the conclusion was it's safe, and here we are.
I have a question for David Dennis, and he said the 7% reduction goal for ProMedica is being met. Is 7% per what? Per year, forever, just one reduction, or?
That original goal was off the 2011 year. We're in the process right now of revising that to see what our next level is. We still have a ways to go to get everybody up to that 7%. But once we get to that, we'll reestablish, we'll draw a new line in the sand, and we'll jump to that.
So per year?
No, it was just 7%. The goal was 7%. Let's see what we can do to get to 7%.
Cooper Tire, great testimonial about the energy efficiency portion of Ohio law. Tell us a little more, for somebody maybe thinking, well, geez, you buy it by the gigawatt or massive amounts. Something we hear at the State House over and over is, look, you don't need an energy efficiency standard for businesses, especially large manufacturers. They get it. They were with energy efficiency long before Al Gore was born. You don't need an energy efficiency standard. Tell us a little bit about, is that standard helping you? Is it doing things for you that you wouldn't have done of your own initiative?
Well, I mentioned the capital, the payback thresholds. One of the things that we are in the largest tariff for AEP, so we actually have a pretty good price per kilowatt, even with the huge, as the people have said, the huge rider for energy efficiency. Our rider is not very big, very small percentage. With using the energy efficiency program and the payback, our energy, if you can imagine, because our cost per kilowatt being so good, it's hard to justify projects within the payback that corporate wants us to see. So where the rebate has come in, the utility incentive, is it's helped us get within those thresholds for those projects. Had those projects not been within that threshold, I mean, these may seem arbitrary, but I've actually taken a project, to give you an example, our last phase of lighting, I went to our executive review board that reviews our projects. It was over, 3.1 years was the payback. They said, no way. I took out some of the outdoor lighting, which is less payback, came back with a 2.9 year payback and proved no problem. The difference in that, the utility incentive is often whether we did the project or we didn't, at least been my experience. Or it's been that we were able to invest in a little bit better technology of lighting. We actually went with induction lighting, which wouldn't have been possible had we not 10-year warranty, 10-year bulb life. Our electricians aren't changing bulbs from fluorescent lights, which would have been the only option we would have had to meet our payback threshold otherwise. So.